Today, I got you with the controller settings I have used to get to #1 in Elite Division, as well as to go on a crazy unbeaten streak in Champs. Feel free, go ahead, copy things, but otherwise, I am going to explain a few settings as they may vary due to personal preference, as well as explain things so you know what they are actually doing in game. Without further ado, let's get into things. I am first going to start with the camera settings. I use legacy camera, which is definitely not as common as what you may see others play, but it is what I prefer. Most people you will see likely use co-op, tele broadcast. For me, this is what I found best when it comes to dribbling and tackling, especially when it comes to depth perception. Again, camera is personal preference, so use whatever suits you. Moving on to the rush camera. Don't really play rush, but if I do, I use broadcast as legacy isn't an option. As for the custom camera settings, this goes along with the legacy camera, so I use 10 height and 0 zoom. As for the rest of the settings, I do not really touch them other than the power shot zoom, which I set to off. The reason for this is if you play someone who is using power shots a lot, I do not really like to see my camera keep zooming in, as it can mess up with defending, especially if they are faking the power shots, causing my camera to keep going in and out. So personally, I leave it on off. Moving on to the visual settings. There are a lot of settings here, so I'm only going to go over the important ones. I am going to scroll down so you can see what I have on for all of the settings, but I will call a few of them out. The first one I want to call out is the playstyle plus indication overhead indicator. This is when you can see the gold playstyle above your head. So say your player has gold technical or anticipate, quick step, and it'll show your player on top of their head when it activates. Personally, I don't really need to see that, and I mean, I know when I'm using it, and low key, I feel like it causes your game to lag at times. Not sure if that's truly the case, but I'd rather not risk it, as it is really not that important to see it. The next big one that I would like to call out is the next player switch indicator. This is a very important one. This will show you, if you click L1 or LB on your controller, it will show you who you are switching to before you click the bumper. So I would make sure that it is on. A small one that can be nice to switch here is the hold to skip. I have it on right now, but you can set it to off. And so what will happen is, let's say you're loading into a game or have a cutscene. If you have it set to off, you can just tap it rather than having to hold it to skip. Most of these other settings I don't really touch, but another big one that I pay a lot of attention to is the connection monitoring. I have it set to ping and connection indicators. This is so in game, I can see if my game is lagging at the top of the screen. It'll show me the yellow and red indicator. So if things aren't working, it's kind of good to know in game if it's delayed, so I can try to compensate for it a bit. If you're someone that, overly gets in your head because the game is lagging, maybe you don't actually want it on. But for me, I like to know if it's delayed so that I can try to make sure that, stay a little bit more simple, pay attention. We know that the game's a bit delayed, and try not to make those little mistakes due to the delay. The rest of these, I don't really touch. Some of these other settings, such as hypermotion insight overlays, tactical chalkboard, stuff like that in previous games used to cause lag, and I know we used to turn those off, like me personally. I don't know if that's really the case anymore, but if you feel like when those things pop up on the screen, your game feels weird, or you don't really care to see them anyways, then I guess you might as well turn them off, as there's not really a reason to have them. Now, moving on to the biggest part, the gameplay settings. Preset. We have it set to competitive. If you are playing online, you have to have it on competitive, at least when you are in rivals, champs, and most modes. Some modes will allow it off, but for the most part, you will be on competitive. Moving to the first setting we can actually change is shot assistance. This is a really big one. Common question I get daily. We have manual, assisted, and precision. Personally, I use assisted. If you're a pro player, they're forced to use precision in pro play. The major difference between the two is precision is a more manual shot. So it's not fully manual, but it is a lot closer to manual, meaning if you are aiming properly, you get a boost and a bonus to your shot. But if you do not aim correctly, you will be missing a lot of easy chances. The reason I use assisted and I do not go for that slight bonus of precision is that when you are shooting from really tight angles, I feel like it is really hard to use precision and cannot perfectly aim certain shots. And assisted is really, really good on those. If you are taking more simple central shots in the box, precision can be nice there. But in my opinion, if I'm already expecting to score those shots anyways, since they're so simple, I don't really need a bonus there, and I'll just look to green time those shots anyways. Where precision is definitely better is for finesse shots outside the box. You will definitely score more of those, especially if you are aiming them properly. I don't really take those shots very often anyways, but it is definitely noticeable with precision. At the end of the day, it's really up to you. Depending on your playstyle, what you want to use. Like I said, I use assisted, and for most, assisted is probably better. But feel free to try precision, and if you master it, I'm sure it probably is worthwhile. Moving on to time finishing. If you green time your shots, turn it on. If you don't know how to green time your shots or don't even attempt to, turn it off. If the ball is coming across the box, you play a corner into the box, or somewhere where you're spamming your shoot button a lot, then you do not want to accidentally red time. If you are someone who spams shoot, just turn it off. If you know how to green time, put it on. Relatively easy, especially the more you do it, so you will get used to it. I would recommend trying to learn it, but again, if you don't use it and you spam shoot, just turn it off. Now, we have all of these passing settings. Personally, they're all left on default. The first major important one is the pass receiver lock, which is set to late. Other options are animation start or power up. The reason I use it on late, this means that when I click pass, I have up until my player kicks the ball to move where I want to pass it. Let's say I realize I was going to pass the ball in one spot and it's going to get intercepted, or my player moves out of the way, or they're going to receive the ball and I know they're going to lose it. I can move my left stick at the last second and pass somewhere else. If you use one of the other settings, you do not have much luxury of being able to do that. So I definitely recommend using late. Now for the precision pass sensitivity. I have this set to normal. You have the choices of high and normal. Honestly, I haven't really touched this. Leaving it set to normal has been what's working for me. So I just recommend normal since that's what I use. Moving on to the clearance assistance. Mine is set to directional. You have the choices of directional or classic. Directional means when you go to clear the ball, the game will take into account where you are aiming the joystick. So in my head, that means where I aim is where I want the ball to go. But on classic, the game will take into consideration where they think it is the best to put the ball, where the best spot is for the ball. Don't really want the game to make a decision for me, so I'm sticking with directional. For defending, I always get asked about this, tactical or advanced. For me, I use tactical. Advanced allows you to choose between the big body bruiser animation and a normal stand tackle. I don't really click tackle much anyways, and I know we don't really want the game to decide things for us, and it seems advanced does give us more manual control, but for me, tactical seems to work better. And I've heard that sometimes with advanced defending, those seal out bruiser animations, they can give more fouls. Not sure if that's true, but I'm sticking with tactical. Moving on to pass block assistance. I have it set to on. This is what allows the game to auto intercept a pass when your player is close to the ball. So we really want that set to on so we can make sure to be winning the ball. Moving on to the switching. I have it on air balls and loose balls. Auto switching move assistance. This is a really big one, so really listen up. We have 3 choices: none, low, and high. I use none. What this means is when you switch players and have it on none, you immediately take control of your player when switching to them. When you have it on low or high, they'll take a few steps and continue running in the direction that they were already moving. Where that can be helpful, let's say someone plays a through ball and you switch to your center back and you have the setting on low or high. They'll take a few steps in the direction before you take control. So this will help you to stay running in that same direction. But if it is on none and you switch to the player and you do not keep holding your joystick in the correct direction, your player could slow down, come to a stop, go the wrong way. But for me, if someone plays a through ball in the example I just gave, I would be running in the correct direction anyways, so that shouldn't be a problem. If they stop on a dime or change directions quick, I want to stop with them. And being able to control my player as fast as possible, so I use none. Right stick switching, classic. We do have these other options, one of them being adaptive. And make sure to stay away from adaptive. Awful, causes issues, so trust me, use classic. As for the switching reference, I get asked about this one a lot, player relative or ball relative. I made a right stick switching tutorial especially for this specific setting, so feel free to check that out. I believe it was sometime last year, so check it out. If you want an updated video for that, just let me know. But in short, what this means is you switch based on the player you're controlling. That's what player relative is. So let's say you're controlling your midfielder and want to switch to your center back, then I'm switching based on where that midfielder is standing. The reason this is better than ball relative is that my team is always lining up in the same positions, so my right stick switching will stay the same when in player relative. When I'm on ball relative, based on where the ball is on the field, and the ball is constantly moving. This means my right stick switching is not the same every switch. So player relative for me, much better, and it will be more consistent. And there's certain player switches, in my opinion, that you can't do on ball relative, especially if you're trying to go like further down the field, that you can do on player relative. Again, full video explanation of this, in-depth showcasing how to use it and more of an understanding. That was just a quick explanation to help make some sense of this. Now, moving to the switching sensitivity. I have this on 4. Haven't really played too much with it. The next player switching I have set to classic. Moving to the reaction time calibration. Usually I have this one on off. I remember earlier in the year there was a big thing about making your menu smoother and something with the gameplay. I think on my other 2 accounts I have it on off, so I'm surprised it's on here. That just shows you I don't think it really makes much of a difference, honestly. Like I said, a lot of people told me to turn it off, so I just turned it off earlier in the year. I really don't think I noticed a difference. This sensitivity setting being on 6 doesn't matter if you're setting this setting to off. As you can see in the description, it talks about clicking your left bumper to switch, and I don't really use it to switch anyways very often. So that's probably why I haven't noticed much of a difference with it off or on. So for me, I'm going to stick with it off. Moving on to the player locks. If you don't player lock, set it to off. If you know how to player lock, or you want to learn how to do it, or you do use it, then set it to on. Contextual, it's automatically off. I'm not playing goalie. And this is a really, really, really big one, the analog sprint. We need this one set to off. Let's say you're doing an L1 speed boost, or you're just trying to sprint really fast. If it is off, this means that as soon as you click sprint, your player will go 0 to 100. But if you turn it on, then they will gradually work their way to full sprint based on how far you are pressing the sprint button down. Now, there are 2 extra settings that when I play on my PlayStation compared to Xbox that they add on. Those are trigger effect and user vibration feedback. Personally, I play with both of those off as well. If these settings helped you, drop a like, sub, let me know if you have any questions or want anything broken down more in depth with in-game examples. I appreciate every single one of you guys showing support, and as always, stay wiggly.